Hey guys, it's Nubby from Decks and Dice here to do a quick little deck tech about my Nahiri deck. It's a mono white commander deck that I've used a few times at the shop. It's geared towards around like a power level of 8. I know, weird little standings for that. But overall, we're going to be going over my key cards in it, my favorite ones, the strong combos and stuff like that. And we'll be going through and looking at all the decks that I have in the upcoming days. We're going to do this for each one of the shop minions, and then we're going to start doing it for regulars here at the shop. Without further ado, just take and hop over to it. So, keep in mind that the deck is really straightforward. We're on Mox Field, which we'll take and link in the video description for the overall deck list and where we'll be posting each thing. My commander is Nahiri the Lithomacer, and I think my camera is in the wrong spots. So, give me half a moment to fix that. I'll turn it off. Cool. So, Nahiri is a 5-mana planeswalker that lets you play her as your commander. It's one of the 5 or 6 planeswalkers that let you do it. Real simple. It's strange the fact that she's 5 mana for 3 toughness, well, loyalty, but all in all, her abilities are really strong. Her +2 gives you a white soldier, which you can take and automatically equip any equipment that you control to it. Her -2 lets you put an equipment from your hand or your graveyard directly onto the battlefield. And her -10 makes probably my favorite equipment in the entire game, which is the Stoneforge Blade. It has indestructible, gives the creature +5/+5 and double strike, and the best part is it has an equipped of 0. The odds that you're going to take and hit that ±10 is pretty low. We do run one other planeswalker in the deck, and that is the Johnny Strength of the Pride, because of the fact we're at 40 life. So whenever we take and make a whole bunch of little 1/1s or creatures like that to run over our equipment to, we can +1 him, gain a bunch of life. Your -2 lets you take and create a soldier to make equipment to, +1 again. Then the 0, if you have at least 15 life more than everything, you get rid of him and each an artifact and creature opponent's control. So you can effectively out of time them using a 0 ability, which is nutty. With that, creature wise, we do run a decent amount. Our best ones are easily Stoneforge Mystic, because of the fact that when it ETBs, you get to search your library for any kind of equipment, put it into your hand. Then for 2 mana, you can do Nahiri's effect, where you get to put the equipment from your hand directly onto the battlefield. You're going to see a lot of ideas around that, where we're just going to be putting the equipment directly onto the battlefield or back out of the graveyard. That's probably one of the strongest parts about this deck, is that, yeah, cool, you got rid of it, but unless you exiled it, it's not going to stay gone. Otherwise, we got some land ramp with the main lion, some protection out of glory, some good creatures that already have double strike built into them, a couple of stacks pieces, such as nobody likes it when your opponent keeps casting cards for free, so you throw in a containment priest. Sun Titan lets you go snag some more of your artifacts, bring them back in. Leon Arbiter, I'm tired of you fetching 9 times and you using your demonic tutors and stuff like that. I know it seems cheap, but when your strategy is quite straightforward, and all you're going to do is play some equipment and hope nobody takes and deals with it, you got to be a little bit rude. We're running Silverblade Paladin because of the fact that it ETBs, and when it on the ETB, it gives it and another creature double strike. So some of our weapons don't actually give double strike out. Instead, they have really good on-hit effects because we run most of the sword line. Keeper of the Cord makes us bodies, gets us lands, really good card. Lion Sash, this is actually probably one of the best creatures / equipments inside the deck. It's a 2-mana 1/1. Cool, right? It's a creature that you can pay 2 mana and you turn it into equipment. You can pay 1 mana and you can target, get rid of cards in your opponent's graveyard or even your own graveyard, and you put a +1/+1 on it. And then the creature gets +1/+1 for each card that you hit like that. It becomes dumb. We can't play mono white without Esper Sentinel. Simple. Whenever your opponent casts this for their first on creature, you draw a card. When you take and throw an equipment on it, it's not a 1/1, so you either have to tap like 6 mana to, or you're going to let me draw a card. So 3/4 of the time that stays around. Mother of Runes, because of the fact tapping and giving creature you control protection from something is amazing. You're going to do that a lot. We run 2 board wipes. These could probably be swapped out for something better, but I don't want this deck to be too dumb. So we take and run a little bit more budgety stuff. So we are running Fell the Mighty. Destroy all creatures that are bigger than, say, hey, I just made a core 1/1. Boom. Get rid of anything that's huge. Martial Coup. Blow everything up if you make 5 tokens. How cool. Not bad. Gift the Estates lets us go get some lands. Open the Armory is probably one of the most important spells in the deck. It lets you search your library for an aura or equipment, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So you can take that in combination with your Stoneforge Mystic. You can go find your 2 most important artifacts, throw them straight to your hand, put them into the battlefield, do dumb things. Instance, we have a lot of protection / removal. So God's Willing gives a creature you control protection, also lets you scry, return to dust. We get exile out an artifact or enchantment because we don't like indestructible. Wing Shards. It's actually probably one of the best cards for being defensive, especially if you played against a combo deck. Target opponent sacks the attacking creature. That gets around targeting because you're targeting the opponent, not the creatures themselves. They sack them, so it gets around indestructible, and it's on an attacking creature. With you run it with Storm, they have to take and sack a bunch of them. Not bad. Condemn lets you target, get rid of something. Afterlife lets you get rid of something. Benevolent Offering, you can play that politics game where you take and tell your buddy, hey, I'll give you a couple of tokens if you give me a couple of tokens, then we're both going to gain life, which also works in with that Ajani from earlier. Another protection spell. Oblation, literally it's our white chaos warp. Copulence is a really fun one. It prevents all the damage to me and planeswalkers, which is important because our commander is a planeswalker. If it is prevented that way, you get to deal that much damage to the creature. If it's from a non-creature source, it deals the sources to the controller. So if you're playing against somebody who is playing like mono red or something like that and goes, hey, I'm going to do you 20 points of damage. 4 mana. No, you? Lots of fun. Light and Tutor lets you go search for your artifacts. We are going to skip over the artifacts because that's going to be the biggest part, and then we're going to look into our lands. We run primarily basic planes because some of the artifacts in there care about that. With that, we also run Emeria because it cares if you have basic planes, and then it lets you grab cards, grab a creature from the graveyard back onto the battlefield. Ancient Tomb, 2 mana. I know it's probably one of the priciest cards in this whole deck. Ghost Quarter, because of the fact you need to be able to blow up your opponent's Ancient Tomb or maybe their guy's Cradle and stuff like that. Karoo is the mono white tap land. Bounce land. ETBs, you bounce an untapped plane so you can hand, and then it taps for 2 mana. Then we run 2 of the cycling lands. For enchantments, we're running Cathar's Crusade, because of the fact that we do generate a bunch of tokens off of our creatures, off of weapons taking them ETBing or dealing damage, and our commander. So whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you make them huge. Mint. True Conviction gives you all of our creatures double strike and lifelink, probably the 2 strongest abilities that you can have within mono white, and it's kind of like synergistic. The only thing that we don't have in that department is Vigilance. Mobilization is a 3 mana enchantment. It gives all your soldiers vigilance. Oh, cool. 3/4 of stuff that we end up making with casting our spells or using Nahiri is a soldier. It's mint. And then you can pay 3 mana to make a soldier, which then lets you attach all your equipment to it. Then we got Marshal's Anthem. It lets you take and grab creatures from the graveyard, so you can grab those stacks pieces that we were talking about, or those really good creatures that people have blown up, put them back to the battlefield whenever you kick it, and then it gives your creatures a static +1/+1. Those are pretty much straightforward for our enchantments. The True Conviction is easily one of my favorite ones, but it's also one of those cards that you could swap out and take and throw in. Crap, now my brain isn't even working on what card I would throw in for it, just because I like the card so much. Giving your creatures double strike and lifelink is insane, and at 6 mana, that's a bit much. But because of our artifacts, it happens quite quickly because of the fact that we are running cards like, I'm trying to find it real fast, Strata Scythe. Imprints, you take and search your library for a land and you exile and you shuffle your library. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land on the battlefield with the same name as that card. Hey, look at that. We play 27 planes. Creature gets 27/27. Let's go. We also got ourselves a Blackblade Reforged for a similar effect where your creature is going to get +1/+1 for each land you control. And then we also run a Drowsing Dagger. When it deals combat damage to a player, you get to transform it. I honestly can't remember what the back end does. Oh yeah, cool. It adds 3 mana to your mana pool. It's a 2 mana equipment that makes your creature pretty strong. You know, without that, you can just ramp up into other stuff. We also run like a Sword of the Animist, which I am not seeing. Yeah, there it is. So whenever it attacks, you search your library for a basic land, throwing it back onto the battlefield, which I like. Masterwork of Ingenuity. Yeah, I know I'm bouncing back and forth a lot here because I'm just talking. But Masterwork of Ingenuity is probably one of the best cards in this entire deck. It's a 1 mana artifact that's also equipment that when it ETBs, you can copy any other equipment on the battlefield. So 1 mana, I play Colossus Hammer, which for those of you who don't know, Colossus Hammer gives a creature +10/+10 and it loses flying, and it has an equip cost of 8. And if I pay 1 mana, I can copy it with my Masterwork of Ingenuity. So now I have 2 giant hammers, and if I throw it onto my Danitha of Benalia's Hope, when she ETBs, you grab every equipment from your graveyard or hand and you attach it to her. It is dumb. Spear of Heliod lets you take and buff up your creatures. It also lets you pay 3 mana to destroy a creature that dealt damage to you. We got Loxodon Warhammer for a little bit more of that life link, plus it gives us trample. Same with Swords of Vengeance. We really want that trample because we'll make all of our creatures pretty big. And then we got Bloodforged Battleaxe. Each time the person deals combat damage, you make another Bloodforged Battleaxe. So, oh cool, all my creatures have this axe now that it keeps smacking you with, and keep going from there. Swiftfoot Boot, Soul Ring. A lot of these are going to be your staples, so like your Commander's Sphere and stuff like that. Mask of Memory and our Skull Clamp are both going to be cards that give us a little bit more card draw. So whenever Mask of Memory happens is whenever your creature deals combat damage to a player, you're going to draw 2, and if you do, you discard a card. It's not too bad because of the fact that we can -2 Nahiri to bring something back, or we have plenty of other cards that let us go into the graveyard, pull this card back out, and use it again. And then we also have the Skull Clamp. You kill that core soldier, as soon as you +2 Nahiri, you get an automatic 2-card draw. Then a new one that we've recently added, and I haven't been able to test out yet, but I'm really excited for, is the Luxior, Gahada's Gift. So this is an equipment that we can actually equip to our Planeswalker. So if we play Nahiri, we pay 1 mana, equip Luxior, she's now a creature. We can still use her plus abilities. People can't attack her anymore. And then if we throw on any one of our cards that give her protection from, hey, get rid of your character, it's great. Then we can still plus up her abilities, and we can even throw her own swords onto her. Speaking of swords, I already talked about the Blackblade. We've already talked about the Sword of Vengeance. We've already talked about the Luxior and the Sword of the Animus. The rest of the swords that we run War and Peace, protection from red and white. We run Forge of Frontier, red and green. We run Sinew and Seal, black and red. Light and Shadow, white and black. Truth and Justice, white and blue. Feast and Famine, black and green. And Fire and Ice for red and blue. So basically, you end up having protection from every type of color out there. So we can't be targeted. We can't be dealt damage. We can't be blocked. All that is great. So 3/4 of the time, you'll just keep an opening hand of like a couple of lands, a Soul Ring, and 1 or 2 swords. Cool. I'm going to play the land. I'm going to play the Soul Ring. I'm going to tap both of I'm gonna then pass, and then I'm gonna play a land, and then I'm gonna play my sword, pass, and then I'm gonna take and play another land. I'm gonna play Nahiri, I'm gonna +2 her, I'm gonna equip the sword to him. If it's a feast and famine, we're gonna smack somebody, and after we smack them, we're gonna take and untap all of our lands, and then we're gonna play 1 or 2 more swords. It's gonna go great. Another really good card which we have in here is Umezawa's Chite. So whenever the creature deals combat damage, we're going to put 2 counters on it. You can remove a counter from it. The creature gets +2/+2 until the end of turn, or target creature gets -1/-1 until the end of turn, or you gain 2 life. Cool thing about this equipment is the fact that, cool, I just dealt you a bunch of damage, or I just dealt this guy damage, and now you're attacking at me with that creature. Cool, I'm going to take off a couple of counters. I'm going to kill that creature. Because -1/-1 counters get around the fact that the creature is indestructible or anything like that, and you can just routinely get in when you have protection from the other swords, or if you just make the creature huge. Then we give it double strike. As you can see, that is our goal. We just want to play a couple of cards, double strike up, smack, smack, smack. Avacyn, Angel of Hope is in here just because of the fact that we want to make our stuff indestructible. Nobody likes having all their things blown up. Really, realistically, don't win quickly. I know that seems very weird within this deck, but with that, you end up winning resoundly because nobody can take and deal with your overall game plan. The only card I've ever struggled with within this deck was a turn 2 Collector Ophi. Cool. I had to wait till I got removal. I removed it, and then they played another one, and then they reanimated it. That card is probably the only card that's a gigantic pain in this one, but we have ways around it. We can take and play Danitha, Benalia's Hope. It automatically equips everything. We can remove it. We can kill it. The biggest thing is that we can't use our activated abilities, which is equip. That's probably the only thing that I've ever struggled with this deck, was that one Collector Ophi. Otherwise, this deck has always performed really well. The cards get huge. Like, there's nothing that ends up stopping it. I forgot the fact that we run a Pearl Medallion because of the fact that it makes all of our white spells 1 less, which then makes the sword protection spells are a lot easier to cast. And we're also running Godsend. The cool thing is, Godsend is an equipment that gives your creature +3/+3. If you block or become blocked by a creature, you're allowed to exile it. Cool thing is, opponents can't cast cards with the same names as cards exiled with Godsend. So if you exile their commander, ta-da, they can't cast it until Godsend's removed from the game. Sounds nutty, right? But hey, I'm Nubby. That was my deck of Nahiri swords. Let us know if there's anything that you would add to this deck if you could not see it from before. We'll take and post the deck link down below, and we'll take and have the rest of the minions do the rest of their decks. Have a wonderful day.